Mark told me he needed a break on a Tuesday, which felt important somehow, the ordinariness of it. Not an anniversary, not a birthday, just a Tuesday, with the dishwasher running and a rerun of some cooking show muted on the TV because neither of us had been watching it, not really. "I think I need space," he said, "before we do the marriage thing. I want to know what else is out there." My name is Ciara. I was 34 years old, sitting on a couch I had picked out in an apartment where I paid half the rent and did most of the vacuuming, and I remember thinking, what else is out there is a strange thing to say to someone you asked to marry you. I didn't cry. I think people expect the crying part, and there wasn't one. Not that night. We'd been together 2 years before we moved in, and then 3 more after that. And somewhere in the middle of it, he got down on one knee in the kitchen. Not even a nice kitchen, just our kitchen, with the cabinet that never closed right, and asked me to marry him. I said yes. I meant it. I think if you'd asked me a month before that Tuesday whether we were happy, I would have said yes to that too, and mostly meant it. But there were things, small things. You know, things don't notice while they're happening, only after, when you're combing back through the last 2 years like you're looking for a receipt. Like the time I had the flu, and he asked me, from the doorway of the bedroom, if I'd already made the appointment to get his car inspected, because his registration was due Friday. Like how he'd do the dishes once a week and wait standing there, for me to notice and say something about it. Like how every time something was wrong in his life, a bad day at work, a fight with his brother, a headache that wouldn't go away, he came to me, not his friends. Me. And every time I suggested gently that maybe some of that belonged with a therapist and not with his girlfriend at 11 at night, he'd get this look on his face, half hurt and half annoyed, and say, "Why would I need a therapist? I have you." I used to think that was sweet. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to hear what it actually was. Getting back to the main part of my story. When he asked me for a break, my response was, "A break? What does that mean, practically?" "I don't know, some space, I feel." He made a motion with his hands like he was trying to loosen a collar that wasn't there. "I feel suffocated, Ciara. I got engaged and I never got to just be out there. I want to know what it's like." "You're 36. I know how old I am. We've been together 5 years. I know that too." He looked at me and there was something almost apologetic in it, which somehow made it worse. "I just need to know. Before I commit to you for the rest of my life, I need to make sure." I sat with that for a second. I remember the dishwasher clicking into its next cycle. "Okay," I said. He looked surprised. I think he expected more of a fight. We didn't discuss terms. That was the mistake. Or his mistake, depending on how you look at it. He packed a bag that weekend and went to stay with his friend Deacon, and in his head, I found this out later, piece by piece, in his head, I was supposed to be a kind of a pause button, frozen, waiting. He would go be out there, whatever that meant to him, and I would sit at home in the apartment we'd shared, doing the same vacuuming, paying the same half of the rent, and be available whenever he decided he'd had enough of being out there. I didn't know that was the arrangement, because nobody had told me it was the arrangement. I just went back to my life. I went to work. I had lunch with a coworker named Sterling, who I'd known for about a year and always liked, in the uncomplicated way you like someone you have nothing invested in liking. Mark saw us. Some restaurant near my office, a plate of pasta between us, nothing that would have looked like anything to anyone with functioning eyes. He was 3 cars down in the parking lot, apparently, picking up something for Deacon. He didn't come in. I want to give him that. He didn't make a scene in the restaurant. He was smart enough, or scared enough given that Sterling has about 5 inches and 40 pounds on him, to just sit in his car and watch. Then he texted me, 9 times over the course of an hour. "Who is that? Are you serious right now? We are on a break. Ciara not broken up. I saw you. Answer your phone. Is this why you agreed so easy? I need to know what's going on. Call me. Call me." I called him. I remember standing in my kitchen now mostly, with my coat still on. "That's my coworker," I said. "Sterling. We get lunch sometimes. We've gotten lunch a dozen times before you decided you needed space. You looked happy. I was having lunch, Mark. You didn't waste any time. And that was the part that did it. Not the accusation. The assumption underneath it. That I was supposed to be sitting somewhere in a locked room, waiting for him to finish his experiment, while he was free to go be out there, whatever out there turned out to look like for him. I want to be really clear about something, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. You wanted space to date other people, that's what you said. You don't get to have that and also get to be upset that I have lunch with a friend. That's different. It's really not. You know it's different. If you're allowed to date, I said, then so am I. That's how a break works, Mark. It's not, you get a break, and I get a cage. He didn't have anything to say to that, which told me everything, honestly, about what he'd actually been imagining this whole time. He came by a few days later for some of his things, his gaming console, a box of clothes, the framed print he liked from our trip to Savannah. Not all of it. He left his winter coat. He left a stack of books on the shelf. I used to think that was an oversight. Later, I understood it as a kind of insurance, a reason to come back. I didn't go looking for anything with Sterling. It would be a neater story if I'd marched out the door determined to prove something, but that's not what happened. I just kept having lunch with him, the way I had before. And somewhere in the weeks after Mark moved out, those lunches started running long. We'd sit in the parking lot afterward talking until one of us noticed the time. He asked me out properly on a Thursday. Dinner, not lunch. A real question, asked plainly, no games in it. I should tell you I just got out of something, I said. Or, I'm technically still in the middle of it. It's complicated. Is it going to become uncomplicated? I think so, yeah. Then I can wait for uncomplicated, he said, and something about the plainness of it, the total absence of drama, felt like putting down a bag I hadn't realized I was still carrying. We started slow. He never once asked me to be his therapist. When I told him about a hard day at work, he listened, and then he asked good questions. And then, this is the part that undid me a little. He didn't expect me to do the same labor back for him unprompted. He had his own people for that. His brother. A friend from college he still called every Sunday. He came to me because he wanted to, not because I was the only outlet he'd built for himself. It took me a while to understand that this was not a low bar. It felt like one at first, because I'd never had anything to compare it to. Then I understood it was actually a fairly rare thing, a person who had built an entire life around himself that didn't run entirely through me. Meanwhile, and I only know this because Deacon's girlfriend is friendly with a woman I used to work out with, small world, smaller than you'd think, Mark was not having the experience he'd imagined. He went on some dates, apps, mostly, a couple of setups through Deacon. Nothing made it past a second date. I heard different versions from different people, but the story was consistent. He came on strong, wanting depth immediately, wanting someone to already understand him the way I understood him, forgetting that understanding is a thing you build with someone over years, not a thing you're issued on the first date like a hotel key. One woman told Deacon's girlfriend that Mark spent 40 minutes of their one dinner talking about a work conflict with his manager, unprompted, in a tone she described as, like he was in therapy and I was the therapist. She didn't call him back. Another one ghosted after date 2. He didn't know why. I think I did. I heard secondhand that around month 4 he started saying things to Deacon like, maybe I built her up too much in my head, or I don't know what I'm even looking for anymore. I felt something when I heard that. Not triumph exactly. Closer to the feeling you get watching someone finally notice a step they've been tripping on for years. He texted me at the 5-month mark. I remember it was a Sunday because Sterling and I had just gotten back from a farmer's market, my arms full of tomatoes I didn't really need. Can we talk? In person. I think I'm ready to come back. I looked at that message for a long time. Come back to what? I typed, and then deleted it, because I already knew the answer, and I didn't need him to say it out loud to truly understand it. I'm seeing someone, I wrote instead. I'm happy. I think we should leave it where it is. Just talk to me. Please. 5 years, Ciara. Doesn't that count for something? It did count for something. That was the maddening part. 5 years counted for a great deal. It counted for the fact that I knew exactly what kind of 5 more years would follow if I said yes, and that knowledge was the whole reason I was typing no. He didn't take it well, though didn't take it well undersells what actually happened, which was less an explosion and more a slow, persistent leak. He started showing up, not dramatically. He was too careful or too scared of Sterling for that. He'd time it for when Sterling's car wasn't in the lot. He'd happen to be at the coffee place 2 blocks from my building on a Wednesday morning, the same coffee place he used to make fun of for being overpriced. "I've been going to therapy," he told me once, standing by my car with his hands in his pockets like a boy caught somewhere he shouldn't be. "You were right. I should have started years ago. I'm working on myself, Ciara." "That's good," I said, and I meant it. Genuinely, in the abstract. "I hope it helps you." "Doesn't that mean anything? That I'm finally doing it?" "It means something for you," I said. "It doesn't mean something for us. There isn't an us to mean something for." He sent flowers to my office once, no card, and when I texted to ask if they were from him, he said, "I just wanted you to have something nice." He liked an old photo of us on social media that I hadn't looked at in months, then unliked it 20 minutes later, which told me he'd been sitting there deciding whether he wanted me to notice. He cornered Sterling once, in the parking garage of all places, when I was running late coming down from the office. I only know what was said because Sterling told me afterward, calm as ever, more amused than rattled. "You know she's not really over me," Mark told him. "We were together 5 years. You're a rebound. I just think you should know that going in." "She seems pretty over you to me," Sterling said, "but you should probably ask her, not me." I did ask myself that night, lying awake next to Sterling's steady breathing. Was I over him? And the honest answer surprised me with how easy it was to reach. Yes. Not because I'd stopped loving the version of him I'd fallen for in the beginning. I think some part of you never fully stops loving who a person was in the good years, but because I understood, finally and completely, what I had actually been to him, and I did not want to go back to being that. The last time he tried, really tried, was on my birthday. He knew the date, obviously. 5 years of birthdays does that. He showed up at the restaurant Sterling and I had gone to, not by coincidence. He must have asked one of my friends or guessed, or just gotten lucky, and waited by my car in the lot until we came out. "Ciara, 2 minutes, please." Sterling, to his credit, just stepped back and let me handle it, close enough to hear, far enough to not crowd it. "I've changed," Mark said. "I know I hurt you. I know I handled everything wrong. The break, all of it. I was an idiot, but I'm not that guy anymore. I want to prove it to you." "I believe you're trying," I said. "I do. But I need you to hear something, and I need you to actually hear it, not just wait for your turn to talk." He nodded, jaw tight. "You didn't want a break so you could grow," I said. "You wanted a break so you could go shopping. You wanted to see if there was something better out there, and you wanted me sitting on a shelf in case there wasn't. That's not a break. That's a hedge, and I'm not going to be anyone's hedge, Mark. Not now. Not in 5 years. Not ever again. That's not—" he started, and then stopped, because I think even he heard how it would sound, finishing that sentence honestly. "I hope the therapy helps you," I said, and I meant it, the way you mean something for a person you no longer need anything from. "I hope you build something real with someone, but it's not going to be with me. I already know what waiting for you looks like. I did it for 5 years without even knowing I was doing it." He didn't say anything else. He got in his car. I watched his taillights until they turned out of the lot, and I felt something like relief. The kind you feel putting down a weight you'd carried so long you'd stopped registering it as weight at all. I think about it sometimes, what it means to know your own value, because that phrase gets thrown around so easily, it's almost lost its shape. For me, it wasn't a lightning bolt. It was 5 months of ordinary days, going to work, having lunch, letting someone else's steadiness become the new normal, that slowly recalibrated what I thought I deserved. I used to think love meant being needed, being the therapist, the cleaner, the partner, the personal assistant, all rolled into one person who never once asked why she was doing all of it alone. I thought if he needed me for everything, that was proof I mattered. It wasn't proof of that. It was proof of something else, that I had made myself so useful, so available, so infinitely accommodating that he never had to develop the muscles to hold himself up, because I was always there to hold him instead. He didn't want a partner in that arrangement. He wanted a reserve, someone certain, someone banked, someone he could set aside while he went and checked if there was a better option out on the open market, and if there had been, if some version of what he was looking for had actually existed and said yes to him during those 5 months, I have no doubt at all that he would have let me go without a second thought. I wasn't the plan. I was the fallback for when the plan didn't work out. Sterling and I are still together. It's not perfect. Nothing is. But it's mutual in a way I didn't fully understand I'd been missing until I had it. He doesn't come to me for everything, and I've stopped expecting to be everything for him. Some days that still feels strange, like muscle memory reaching for a weight that isn't there anymore. Mark reached out again, a few months after the birthday. Just once. A short message, no urgency in it this time, almost resigned. I hope you're happy. I mean that. I believe he did mean it, in whatever way he's capable of meaning things like that. I didn't write back. Not out of cruelty. I just didn't have anything left to say that he hadn't already heard, more than once, standing in a parking lot with his hands in his pockets, waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe.